right, ready over here. Good evening and welcome to the Planning Commission of the City of Moreno Valley. I now call this meeting to order on February 27, 2020 at 7, that's right on the money here, 7 p.m. We have the roll call, please.
Commissioner Brugaris,
Here.
Commissioner Stephen,
Present.
Commissioner Harris,
Here.
Commissioner DeJournette, Vice Chairperson Baker,
Here.
Commissioner Corsick,
Present.
Chairperson Sims.
Here. All right, the Pledge of Allegiance will be by Commissioner DeJournette today.
Please stand. Place your hand over your heart. Ready?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible.
Thank you, Commissioner DeJournette. We're now going to move to the approval of the agenda. We have a motion.
I'll move to accept the agenda as submitted.
All
I'll
right.
second.
All right, we have a first and a second, Baker and Harris. Can we place your votes, please? All right, things are moving along, 7-0, approved. Okay. This is for public comments procedure. Any person wishing to address the commission on any matter, either under the public comments section of the agenda or scheduled items or public hearings, must fill out a request to speak form available at the door, right there as you walk in. The completed form must be submitted to the secretary prior to the agenda item being called by the chairperson. The secretary's up front, up here, if you want to fill out the card. Speaking to the commission, member of the public may be limited to 3 minutes per person, except for the applicant for entitlement. The commission may establish an overall time limit for comments on a particular agenda item. Members of the public must direct their questions to the chairperson of the commission and not to other members of the commission, the applicant, the staff, or the audience. Okay. The next item is public comments on anything not on the agenda. Do we have any speakers?
No, sir.
Okay. All right, the next item is approval of the consent calendar. So the first item is minutes of the January, item 1 is January 9th minutes.
I'll move to accept the minutes as submitted.
I second.
Okay, we have a first by Commissioner Baker, second by Commissioner Brugaris. Please vote. Okay, it's approved, 7-0. All right, I always get myself confused with my papers up here, shuffling along here, sorry. Okay. Next item on the agenda is non-public hearing items. Item number 1 is general plan annual progress report as required by Government Code 65400. Can we have staff report, please?
Mr. Chair, this item will be presented to you by Associate Planner Claudia Manrique.
Chair and members of the Planning Commission. California state law requires that cities submit an annual progress report on the status and implementation of the general plan to the Governor's Office of Planning and Research and the Department of Housing and Community Development. Prior to submittal to the state, the annual report must be presented to the City Council for review and acceptance. The staff is bringing the annual report to Planning Commission for review and recommendation to the City Council prior to its March 3rd City Council meeting. The 2019 General Plan Annual Progress Report summarizes the City of Moreno Valley's progress towards implementation of the goals, policies, and programs in the city's general plan. The annual report also includes a report of general plan amendments and other major projects that were approved by the Planning Commission and City Council in 2019. 3 general plan amendments were approved during this time period. Also, as part of the annual report, HCD requires reporting on the housing element implementation. In 2019, the city of Moreno Valley had 522 new residential units, or 238 apartment units, 279 single-family homes, and 9 accessory dwelling units. This shows progress towards the city meeting its 5th cycle RENA numbers. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission approve Resolution 2020-02 as identified in the staff report. Thank you.
Thanks. Is there any questions of staff? I guess I can ask a question.
I have a question, Chair.
After you.
I looked at the staff report, and what I would like to know is this a criteria that the state requires us to fulfill in the city of Moreno Valley when we do the housing and the programs and all the things that I read out of the report?
Yes. The answer is yes. This is a report that we're required to submit annually. They provide us with a template and tell us the information that we need to provide.
Great. I'll save the rest for later. Great, thank you.
So the staff report, and also in the document, the report, it says major accomplishments. Maybe I'm getting slippage of my old age, but I know we've had more than 8 projects that's come through. So is there, over the last calendar year, what differentiates projects to be a major project versus a minor project, or is that a subjective or objective criteria?
Sort of subjective by staff. So we'll take the bigger plot plans, conditional use permits, and consider those major. If it's a smaller admin project or like a banquet hall going in an existing building, we consider a minor. And then, of course, the general plan amendments are in their separate class, which are the major projects.
And does in the reporting, I assume that there's some state division of something or other that requires that this be filled out, well, per the government code, whatever that code was that we referenced in the title. But I'm assuming that the planning department, the city, when they're applying for grants and so forth, that these kind of reports help substantiate information that's submitted with applications and so forth?
That is correct.
Okay.
So for most of the grants, if it's through the state, we're required to have our general plan annual report submitted and approved, as well as the documentation to the Housing and Community Development Department with the housing tables.
Okay, thank you.
One more, because you mentioned dollars. So when we meet the criteria of the state in the city of Moreno Valley, does that help us to get funding for projects? You know?
If I may,
Yes.
Chair and Commissioner, the housing element adopted every 6 years has a criteria, and I think that what maybe you may be speaking to, and that is we have to make available land for a certain amount of units, including affordable units. Unless we have a certified housing element, funding from any federal or state agencies will not occur. So it is not the actual units on the ground. It is having land available and meeting all of the ministerial criteria to make the processes easier that the state measures when they consider A, compliance with the housing element, and B, any type of grant funding.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioner Hurst?
Yes. on packet page 37, action 2.3, it says, consider pursuing a program through the Moreno Valley Housing Authority if funding is available. And, you know, just the way that starts off, it sounds like, well, that's never going anywhere. You know, because it's been ongoing since 2014 through 2021. And is that something that we're still considering? Has this appeared on multiple forms that we send in that says that, yeah, we're considering this?
Sorry. With respect to something showing up every year, it will show up every year because it's in the general plan. One of the things we'll look at during the general plan update is whether our policies and goals need updating as well. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it just sounds, everything sounds so tentative, iffy.
Well, a lot of them do have to do with funding, and funding doesn't always, is not always available. So
Yeah,
sometimes
well, I
we-
understand that. That part I understand. Okay, thank you.
Well, didn't we do something, didn't we approve a project just 2-3 months ago where there was some housing authority property that we did a deal with, and the housing authority did a deal, and they're gonna build some apartments, low income.
We did do that. Just, I want to say that was in October. We had a project that was maybe approximately 80 units, if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
That was approved, and actually looking at it, I think that might be one that even falls in here.
So it's more of a program, I would, Commissioner Harris, it looks like almost like a programmatic, you're always, it's like going to the trout farm, you're always keeping fresh bait and hoping one pops in. And if, that's why, yeah. Okay, any other questions of staff? Okay, do we have any public comments on this item?
No, sir.
All right. Well, we have some more.
Sorry. Packet page 48, action 7.1. The city, in conjunction with the Riverside County Fair Housing Council, shall support efforts dedicated to working towards elimination of discrimination of housing by actively pursuing any complaints of housing discriminations. Now, is that is there anything else that can be done besides waiting for people to make a complaint? Because I don't think, you know, I don't think people don't make complaints.
Actually, we have today received a complaint in our office
Okay.
pertaining to housing and basically unfair rent increases. So there is a mechanism in place which allows us to respond to those. It's difficult to be proactive in this type of a area because how do you go around and find out that people didn't rent somebody an apartment because they were the wrong gender, color, race, whatever. So we have to rely on these reports to be brought to us because proactive policing is very difficult in these type of situations.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? I've already asked that, and so there's no public comment, so I think all we need to do here, looking back to is this a receive and file or approve and make a motion? So we need a motion to pass the
I'll
resolution.
make the motion.
Okay? We have a-
I motion that we approve resolution number 2020-02.
I second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Please vote. All right, it was approved, 7-0. Can we have a staff wrap up?
This item will go on towards the city council with their approval. It will be submitted to the state prior to the deadline of April 1st.
Thank you. The next item is on the public hearing. As a public hearing item, it's, the first item is a standard street vacation of a portion of Stoddard Street located between Williams Avenue and Alessandro Boulevard. Can we have staff report, please?
Thank you. The item will be presented by Michael Lloyd. He's a division manager with engineering.
Good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, and Commissioners. This hearing item is a request that the Planning Commission make a finding that the proposed street vacation of Stoddard Street is consistent with the goals, policies, and objectives of the city's general plan. Stoddard Street between Alessandro Boulevard and Williams Avenue, which is located approximately 660 feet west of Redlands Boulevard, currently is not paved and only exists as right-of-way. The street right-of-way is not needed for circulation or property access currently or for any future development. An existing water line owned by Eastern Municipal Water District is located within the right-of-way, and an easement will be reserved for that water line. No other utilities were identified within this section of right-of-way. By vacating this street right-of-way, the city removes any liability associated with it. Staff has processed the street vacation request consistent with Streets and Highways Code as well as Government Code requirements. Planning Commission's finding that the vacation is in conformance with the general plan will fulfill Government Code Section 65402 requirements. The next steps in the vacation process will be taken to City Council. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission approve Resolution 2020-03 as presented. This concludes my report, and Guy Pagan and I are available to answer any questions. Thank you.
Okay, do we have any questions? Go ahead.
Just out of curiosity, on page 2, it says this was dedicated for public use in 1891. It goes that far back? That's what it says on page 2. It probably could. I don't know, would it be called the Moreno subdivision map?
Yes, that is correct.
Impressive.
They do have to do surveying back then.
I know, but we weren't Moreno Valley back then.
City of
It
Marina.
We
was,
haven't
it was of
but we
things
were
to come. It was for things to come.
We haven't been Moreno Valley for that long.
So I guess my question is so there's two lots here on a legally created lots, but they were offered for dedication but never accepted, right? Is that kind of
It was accepted, so it exists as city right-of-way, which is why we have to go through the vacation process.
Okay.
The issue here is the street was never constructed, and therefore there's no functional value to it.
is the city owns the property right now?
It's an easement that the city possesses. The underlying adjacent, the property owners adjacent are the underlying fee title holder.
Okay, so each of the property owners on either side own to the center line of.
That is correct.
Okay, all right, and so once the vacation, this is just a cloud being taken off of the property for they to put a fence there and really use it to their full use and benefit.
That is correct.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right. Is there there's no questions. Is there any? Let's see here. Boy, I apologize here. Look at me not be. Too many papers on I'm organized, but do we have anyone in the public that would like to speak on this item?
We do. We have Martha Moreno.
Evening, members of the commission. Is this on? Hear me?
Yes.
Okay. We're opposed to this vacating of Stoddard because simply it already looks like it's been vacated. There are fences on both ends of this street. We actually saw when those fences were being put up, they were put up by residents in our area. And I can only say that The only reason this new property owner would possibly want to take it in is because it simply looks like it has been vacated. And after speaking with Mr. Pagan, I found out that it hasn't been, at least not formally. My question is, who allowed the fences to go up in the first place? We've lived in that area for approximately 30 years, and it was used as a road. And I would like to see it opened up again simply because leaving Williams Avenue to enter Redlands, making a left-hand turn, early morning hours, evening hours, there is a lot of traffic. Williams is basically a half a block up from Alessandro. It does not give you enough room. The traffic that's coming down the hill blocks that entire street at times, and it takes a while to get out. Trying to make a left-hand turn, you cannot see beyond that to make it, not to make a clear one anyhow. If Stoddard was still open, we could shoot up to Gifford and go out on Gifford. Gifford is much farther away from Alessandro. And going out on Alessandro would also be another option. So my question is, why was Stoddard allowed to be blocked to begin with? Nobody ever came around, and now if you look at the property just off of Alessandro on either side, you can see that those properties have taken that in. They've used it for driveways. I don't understand how that could be if those fences were not formally put up with permission from the city. And so we are opposed to it. I would like to see it open.
We own a property on the other side.
We own property on Stoddard and Williams. And if this should be the case later on, where would that leave us? So that's basically all I have to say.
Take half of our street too?
No, I don't know. So we're just looking to the future. If you let somebody on the other side of Williams pull in part of the street, as residents have already done facing Alessandro, what can we inspect later if, let's say, the person that lives directly across from our property should decide to sell that small portion? Are we going to have to relinquish our part of the street there?
Your time is
Okay.
expired, but
That's
thank you
fine.
very much.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, is there any other public comments?
No, sir.
Okay, then with that, I will close the public comment. I guess, is there any questions that staff would like to ask or commissioners like to ask?
Well, as I understand it, the city owns that.
There's an overlying easement, and this is, again, one of the examples that Mr. Lloyd was speaking to, and that is situations like these, if we maintain the easement over this area, create liability to the city. People are misusing that area, and one of the reasons why we're asking for a recommendation to vacate that piece is because we have no public use for it, and once our easement or our rights to occupy it are removed, private owners can decide what they want to do on their own properties on each side of the center line.
So as I understand it, the property was offered and accepted back in whenever,
18.
from the county at one point. And so now apparently it hasn't been put in use, maybe because fences were put up or this one of those type of things. But I guess a question, and so now I guess to make it such that it's kind of currently in the condition is they have to go through a vacation process. So the city essentially waives its right, except to leave the eastern still wants to retain an easement for the water pipe. So the question I have, just since this was brought up, since there is an objection, what is the process that does city staff go through to evaluate the traffic and the variety of things to to validate a vacation is an appropriate action.
So I will answer your question, but I just want to preface it by just reinforcing my previous statement that what we're looking for tonight is a finding from the Planning Commission that this request is in conformance with the general plan. So I just want to make that clear, that the ultimate decision as to whether the easement should be retained or not for public use or not is council's decision. So I just wanted to make that clear. So in terms of your question, we did go through an evaluation of reaching out to property owners as well as utilities as to whether it had any use or not. We looked at our general plan in terms of what the requirements are in terms of our circulation element and those policies and objectives. The right-of-way did not meet any of those policies or objectives. So one thing that I can offer is to reach out to the residents so that we can have that dialogue and hopefully answer their questions before, if Planning Commission makes the finding tonight, before we carry this to City Council. Ultimately, the residents can obviously appeal at that time to City Council as well.
And so you have the contact information. Okay, all right, good.
I got one question. On this property, when it's vacated, can anything be built on those two lots where it's got an easement down through there for the water line?
So I don't have the parcel dimensions in front of me, but there are existing parcels adjacent on either side of the roadway. And so those existing parcels would just absorb this easement area, so it would become part of the larger adjacent parcels.
And which parcels it go into, the east or west? Do you have any idea who's going to gain this property?
So my recollection is that the easement goes right down the parcels on either side go right to the middle of the easement. So I believe this is a 60-foot easement, so 30 feet go to the east, 30 feet go to the west.
But who's going to gain control of this property after we vacate it?
The underlying fee title, the parcel owners adjacent, it's their
Adjacent
property.
Okay.
The city does not own that property.
Got it.
We own a easement, which gives us rights.
What I'm getting at here, is there a possibility of 4 different parcel owners involved in this, like lot 1, 8, 9, and 10, is that correct?
That is correct. There are 4 parcel owners.
Parcel owners, okay. They got to ante up the land, huh? Okay.
Well, they're gaining back the right to use their property. We're relinquishing or vacating our rights to those easements.
Okay.
Okay, sir, go ahead.
On packet page, this is just maybe a no big deal detail, but on packet page 172, Exhibit B, it gives the legal description, and it's talking about the records of San Bernardino County, California. And I'm wondering if this is, if this can be used, and it refers also to the town of Moreno. Well, there is no more town of Moreno. So I just question.
So when the map was filed in 1891, I believe it was, Riverside County did not exist. We were a part of San Bernardino County at that time. So, and the area in that general vicinity was known as Moreno. So that's the reason for that reference.
I knew that. So, okay.
Thank you.
60 feet?
Thank you.
The easement goes down through the middle, right?
Yeah.
Can't build much on 60 feet.
No. Well, okay.
At least have a playground.
Each property owner will get 30 feet added to their parcel.
Well, I think for clarity, the property owners already own the 30 feet. That's already, if you probably looked on their legal description on their property for their assessor parcel, they would own that, and it's encumbered right now with an easement dedicated to the city, 30 foot on one piece, 30 foot on another, 30 and 30 between the 4 parcels. And they probably built fences. It's probably like Get Smart going through all the fences right now to get through there. And so what this is sounding like, if it's consistent with the general plan that gets approved by council, that these property owners will actually recapture the use of that easement. It takes that cloud away, except for the water line easement, which will be retained. So any other questions? If not, we can hear a motion. The public hearing part is closed, so it's deliberate in motion time.
The good thing about vacating the property, that the residents that own the parcel has an opportunity to sell or build something on it. You know, again, they'll get back their property. They'll do whatever they please with it. So hopefully they'll either sell to each other, make one big thing, like, you know, bring 4 parcels together. If anybody ever buys them, build something good on it. Anything's possible when you have land out there. So it sounds good. So we get away from the liability part of it in the city.
Yes.
It looks like we are only really voting if it's in conformance with the general plan and current zoning. So I'm not saying that what we're not saying is irrelevant, but it is not what we're voting on. So to me, after having read the document, I believe it is in conformance.
Is that a motion?
Well, I don't know if they're done talking. Are you done? I'll make the motion. Okay, sorry. I recommend that we approve Resolution 2020-03.
I'll second that.
All right, we got a first and a second. Please vote. Okay, it was approved, so staff wrap up, please.
As Mr. Lloyd noted, this will move forward to the city council for decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the second item is a conditional use permit for a retail cannabis dispensary, RD Moval LLC. Can we have staff report, please?
And Senior Planner Sean Kelleher will present this item, please.
Thank you, Honorable Chairman and Commissioners. Sean Kelleher, Senior Planner. The project before you this evening is a conditional use permit for a new commercial cannabis dispensary, RD Moval. The subject site is located on the north side of Alessandro Boulevard, west of Old 215 Frontage Road, and is located within the Community Commercial District. The proposed project is permitted with a conditional use permit within this district. The site is currently developed with 3 commercial buildings and a small parking lot. The proposed development will include the construction of an expanded parking lot area, closure of one of the existing driveways onto Alessandro Boulevard, and the installation of new landscaping improvements. A condition of approval has been applied to this project to require the applicant to provide an additional landscaping strip along the Alessandro Boulevard frontage. The proposed site design and the conditions of approval ensure that the project complies with the city's development standards. The proposed tenant improvements for the building include a new customer lobby, showroom, offices, and a secured storage room. The applicant is proposing hours of operation between 8 a.m. and 10 p.m. 7 days a week. Additionally, the applicant has proposed to modify the exterior of the building to screen the roof-mounted equipment and remove the existing signage and associated lighting on the exterior of the building. The proposed project, as previously noted, the proposed project as designed and conditioned does comply with the standards of the city's municipal code. Therefore, staff recommends the Planning Commission approve Resolution number 2020-5, certifying that the project is categorically exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act, and approve planning case PEN 19-0052, subject to the conditions of approval. Staff would note that prior to the hearing this evening, there was a memorandum distributed to each of the commissioners from the Public Works Department, adding an additional condition related to the parking lot expansion requiring that the applicant provide pervious paving within the parking stalls and earn impervious paving for the circulation areas in order to comply with water quality management requirements. With that, that concludes staff's presentation. Staff and the applicant are available for any questions. Thank you.
Does the commissioners have questions for staff? Okay, well then, at this time, would the applicant like to speak?
Good evening. My name is Rick Jackson. I'm the project manager representing the applicants, and the applicants are here in the audience as well. I just want to make sure that you understand that we spent a whole year working on this project to bring it up to the standards that the staff has required of us, and have been very helpful in bringing this about. Security and safety and professionalism is the key points of this project. We're going to vastly improve the appearance of this parcel with landscaping and lighting, and we'll have a 24/7 security guards to improve the security in the area. So we would appreciate you approving this application. Thank you.
Does commissioners have any questions of the applicant?
I have one for him because he mentioned it himself. 24/7.
Yes.
Is that what you're going to be providing if this project gets approved for that community?
Well, no, it'd be for our parcel.
Yeah, the parcel.
Yes,
What I meant.
yes.
That's the parcel.
Yes,
The
of course.
community
Yes,
itself.
we have to have 24/7 security there. Yes.
Good enough.
And
Thank
we
you.
also have cameras and monitoring, all that stuff.
Oh, I believe you will.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Now's the time for public comment. Do we have any speakers from the public?
We do. We have Carla Richmond.
Hello, Commission. My name is Dr. Carla Kendall Richmond, and I grew up in this community. For one, graduated from Moreno Valley High School quite a long time ago. But my family has the business directly behind this project, and I don't know what they are considering a cannabis industry. Are they just doing the plants and the flowers, or are they doing all the derivatives? Do you know that? What's going to go on in this building, or what are they selling? I don't know. I am a nurse, and I've been a nurse for a very long time, and I'm not sure that you are aware of what THC, which is in the cannabis, and it's now 20 to 25% stronger than years ago. So, and the effect of it on the brain, and I will tell you the physiology of it, a real basic, it attaches to the fat cells, and it attaches to your brain, throughout your brain. It will impair, and this is research, it will damage adolescents, their brain forever, permanently. Marijuana in and of itself, even if they are over the age of 23 and your brain doesn't even complete developing until the age of 23, that it impairs neuron and cognitive functioning. So what we're concerned about is you will have impaired people going in and out of this business 7 days a week from 8 until 10 p.m. So our business is directly behind it. It now houses auto shops and a t-shirt business and everything. And I think that impaired people shouldn't be in this community. I understand from Mr. James that you have, what, 12, 23 of these in this community? And you're letting these people impair themselves and drive on your streets? I'm surprised. And I do object to this industry going next door to our business, a legitimate business that's been there since 1958. Thank you. But the physiology, I'll give it to you.
Thank you for your comments. Is there any other speakers?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. That'll close the public hearing. Would the applicant like to respond to any of the public comments?
Thank you. This is a retail operation. All cannabis will be carefully monitored by the state of California as it goes in, goes out. The quality of the marijuana is regulated by the state of California. Everything is inspected and analyzed. And we also, nobody under the age of 21 is allowed on the premises. Our security people will guarantee that. It's by law. Also, no consumption of any cannabis, alcohol, or tobacco is allowed on the premises. So, this is a well-regulated industry. Everything that we sell is going to be in child-proof containers for the consumer. No open containers will be on the premises, even on the inside of the building. This is a well-regulated industry. Thank you.
Okay. At this time, well, then we've heard the public comment period is closed. Do we have any deliberations, discussion by commissioners?
I'll start it, Chair. I went by the property 2 days ago to look at it, and I was surprised to see the location, because it was closer to the 2015 road, and I got out, I parked my truck, and I got out and I walked around the whole premises and looked at all the buildings, and I was thrown off a little bit by the auto shop that was there, that's now going to be converted into the dispensary in the future. And that's a good thing, because they're going to take it from scratch and rebuild the whole inside and the outside and make it all look brand new and put all the lightings and all the safety features that part of the community needs. Because when I was walking around the back, what I saw was people hanging out drinking, okay? And I know that the owner that's in the back of this property sees that daily, probably. And they should be concerned about that for as so many years. This is why I questioned the applicant when he mentioned 24/7 on security. That's what's needed in that general area, is a guard that's going to be out there 24/7 looking over that piece of property and the community that's out there, because there's a lot that's going to be done to make that area look well. Now, with her profession, I also have to consider those that are chronic and do need the CBD product and the cannabis product to help them through their afflictions of no cost to themselves. So I have to consider them also. You know, I prefer somebody doing cannabis than shooting heroin or doing pills. Either one is no good, but one is less than the other. So again, I'm grateful to see that dispensary, hopefully in the future, get built to not only help the community, but to help those that need the cannabis for their medical needs. You know, and I'm glad for the 24/7 security guard, because that's also going to help a lot in that area.
A couple of comments on this. Regardless of what the personal opinions of folks about the cannabis business, the situation is of it. The state of California deemed per Proposition 64 that this was going to be the way it is in California, and so then directly following that, jurisdictions like the city of Moreno Valley adopt ordinances and so forth to implement the will of the state of California, which was by vote and approved. So that's where it's at. And through the ordinance that the city adopted, there's a certain amount of dispensaries, certain amount of cultivations, and variety of different things. There's up to 43 different cannabis permits that can be issued into the city. And I could say over the last couple of years, there has been a steady, or year and a half or so, there's been a steady influx of these projects coming through. I don't know if there's one actually legally open yet in the city, but what's that?
Shango is being opened in about a month.
So it's one of those, whether we like it or not. It's upon our personal opinion. So at this point, the city council is elected to have this ordinance, and so going forward, the planning commission is regulated to just looking at it from, does it comply with the rules and regulations consistent with the zoning and ordinances and distances and so forth and so on. And so, and based on what we see here in the staff report and the maps and so forth, it does comply from just a straight land use standpoint, irregardless of the position of whether it's right or wrong, from if you agree with that politics or policy. So anyhow, that's my comments. Go ahead.
I would just like to say that should this project be approved, it is going to really add some very nice landscaping to that whole parcel. It's going to look beautiful, whereas now it could go either way. So I'm thinking that this is going to look good if it's approved.
My thought process on this is pretty much the same as my other committee members, is that, but one thing I do think about is this. Right now, if a person decided to walk through that area and I guess to coin a phrase, blaze up, there is no security guard to say, hey, don't do that. There is no one to regulate the area. And I'm sure that there are, and that's pure speculation, that there's people that are probably walking around smoking marijuana. But by putting someone in there that has to follow our conditional use, our conditions of use, and following our plan, that means that the applicant is saying that, hey, I'm going to regulate this area, and no one is supposed to smoke marijuana or ingest the product in this area based on the laws and regulations and city code here. So there's going to be security in place to say if someone happens to do that, you can't do that here. Right now there isn't. So I think it's with the landscaping and the beautifications and the added security and lighting and that sort of thing, I think it's a plus more so than
Any other comments?
Well, I just think that, they've done everything that we've required them to do, and there's no reason why we can object for them to come in. Whether we have any personal opinion on it or not, it doesn't matter. And that's what we're here for, to make sure that they've all dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's, and they have, so we have no reason to say they can't. I'm sure it'll be an asset to that area. I've been here for 36 years, and I know what that area looks like. So basically, like I said, should they not do the right thing, we close them up. Simple as that. But I'm sure they've put a lot of time, effort, and money, and they're not going to allow that to happen. So I don't see any reason why it's not going to, we can't pass it.
I've got one quick question.
Sure.
If I could follow, I want to make sure I'm building 3, is that where the auto supply is going to be? And then building 2 is the bar, is that correct?
The liquor store.
Just looking here, I just want to make sure I'm on the right target here.
Moment.
Oh, liquor store is building 2?
Building,
Small building in the back.
1 will be the dispensary. Building 3 is currently utilized as a auto repair facility, and building 2 is the existing liquor store on site.
What?
The existing liquor store.
Okay, got it. Okay, thank you.
I had a
Sure,
question to
Shane?
staff on the, as far as the beautification of, is only building 2 going to be improved, or is the balance of this, I mean, the mapping here shows, landscape and so forth throughout the whole thing. Are all of the buildings going to be upgraded, or what's the story on that?
The landscaping and site improvements will be updated and upgraded. The screening mechanisms will only be applied to building 1, the cannabis dispensary.
So are these all separate ownerships, or?
It is common ownership amongst the 3 buildings. However, the modifications that are being made to the building, to the structures, building 1 is the only one that will be seeing any form of modification to it.
So it's really not true what we see on the landscape plan here, right?
No, the landscape plan is correct.
And you're going to put all that green in around the parking, okay. very
That is
good.
what they've recommended, and we've actually conditioned them for more.
And these owners have agreed to go along with that in the liquor store and the auto parts, is that correct?
It sounds like there's one owner of all the buildings.
whole deal,
And there's different tenants.
Okay, 3 tenants and 1 owner, okay.
Well, I guess my question would be then is with the additional greenery and upgrades to the, who would building 1, would all 3 buildings be responsible for the upkeep or just the addition to the cannabis?
It would be the master property owner who would be responsible for the maintenance of the landscaping.
And who is the property owner? Is this Joanne and Suzanne? Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, they own the whole works, okay, very good.
I find it's unfortunate that the other buildings aren't going to match. But anyhow, I guess.
Well, I'll tell you what, that's gonna be an eyesore, man. Landscape only. I think we ought to hold out for the whole thing, to be honest. We can, but do that? All 3 buildings be renovated? If it's the same owner, what the hey? See how bad they want cannabis in there.
May I say something?
That's my opinion. I just hate this stuff doing something not to be,
I understand.
Commissioner Baker, what I believe is when we do one building the right way, the other 2 will come along eventually.
I don't believe it.
I don't
I mean,
believe
that's
it either.
what I know.
Maybe
But, you know,
change-
I can only hope that when something looks good on one side, eventually, hopefully, the other side will look just as good in the future.
Why can't we get that if the owner owns a whole parcel, all 3 parcels? I mean, now's the time to go after that.
The owners.
I believe.
May I explain what's going on?
Okay.
Yeah, we have building 1, and also building 3 will be part of our lease, and we will take that over. It's not going to be auto parts. We're going to fix it up just like the building 1, and we're going to leave it vacant. We'll put maybe storage of certain things, but nothing. We're not going to have any cannabis activity there. So we're going to spruce up that whole thing.
The liquor store.
But how about
That's-
the liquor store?
Well, that's we have to deal with that with the landlord, I guess.
With who?
With the owner of the property. Yeah, we're putting all this money into this whole
understand
thing. It's not
totally.
even our
I
property.
just hope that the liquor store doesn't cause an issue with their tenants. I mean, you know, their clientele.
Might improve their clientele.
well-
It might improve a lot of security.
That's true.
Still got that bar looks like the devil.
Well,
Well, we got one
so
building
we
out of the
have,
way.
we've heard all we're gonna hear, so I suppose there's a recommendation by staff. We can certainly, put that up for vote and see what happens and go from there.
I move to approve the recommendation of the staff, resolution number 2020-05, 1 and 2.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, we have a first and a second, please vote.
Could I interrupt? I'm sorry. Can we clarify that the additional condition is being incorporated into the approval?
Oh, okay. You would like to amend your motion there, Raphael?
Yes, sir. I also want to add to the record that we have the second approval, 19-0025, that be included.
Well, a new condition
The new
number
condition.
76.
Right.
Condition number 76.
76.
Yeah.
Okay, the new condition number 76.
Okay, we have a first and a second. We've included
Mayor,
the
we just need
revised
to get
condition.
concurrence from the second on the amendment. Concurrence on the amendment from the second?
It just, the 76?
Right.
Yeah, it's the new
Okay.
parking area
Now-
located.
Now you can proceed. Thank you.
Okay, you're approving the addition of that. With your second, you're approving that, right?
Right.
Okay. Okay, please vote. Okay, it was voted 6-1 with 6 yes, 1 no. Can we have staff wrap up?
The action taken by the Planning Commission this evening is an appealable action. Any party that would like to file an appeal must do so within 15 days of the action. Direct the appeal in writing to the Community Development Director along with the appropriate fee. If it is appealed, it would be agendized for consideration by the City Council.
Okay, thank you. All right. We have no other items on the agenda. Do we have any staff comments?
We do. If I may, I'd like to introduce the city's new Community Development Director. Sitting to my right is Manuel Mancha. He started this week, and we're quite excited to have him here.
Thank you, Chair, members of the Planning Commission. I'm very fortunate to be working with a great staff here in a great city. I see a lot of potential that you have in this city, and I'd like to be a part of your future in developing this city to what the residents and the City Council would like to see it. So again, I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Welcome on board.
If I could add one additional thing, one other item, which is that we are in the process of updating our general plan. We have put flyers for some upcoming workshops on the back table. They are on the city's website, and anybody looking for information on the effort could go to www.movell.org/2040. Thank you.
Do we have any planner commissioner comments?
I have one. For all the residents that are paying attention tonight and listening on TV or wherever they may be, please take advantage of your community service by going to these meetings. You're going to have an opportunity to voice your opinion. We did very well in 2019. By everybody coming together, we can do well in 2020, and we can send up another great report to the state. So you must do your part by coming to the meetings if you can make them. So like this, you could be comfortable with your decisions when this goes forward. So please try to make the meetings. Thank you.
Any other commissioner comments? Well then, we'll move to
I did have a question. You have several dates here in March for the workshops. Are these the same workshops, or are they different workshops?
They're the same workshop, and we've tried to place one in each district, although they are all open to any member of the community that would like to attend.
Okay, so once you attend one,
Sure, you could attend one, and you can attend all. They are the same, though.
but you get the same information?
Yes.
Good, okay.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments, questions? Then let's adjourn this meeting to our next meeting to March 12th and we're adjourning at 8:02. Thank you. Have a good night.
Good, buddy.